Forgiveness isn't for the other. It's for us. It says, I will not put another human being out of my heart. For the sake of our own dignity and our own heart. I was riding on the train on the way to my father's memorial funeral service from Washington to Philadelphia. And I sat down next to an interesting fellow, an African-American guy, and we got into a conversation. He asked me what I did. I said, oh, I'm in theater. Now, sometimes I say I'm in sales. That's a different thing. But anyway, it turned out he'd been in the State Department in India for a while. Exchange stories, but then he quit when he got fed up with some of the ways that the U.S. government was working in India at that time. And he now worked for an inner city project in Washington, D.C., and he worked with young boys, particularly those in jail and prison and those who had committed homicide. He worked with gang kids, too. So he told me a story. He said one young kid, 14 years old, trying to, be tough and be in a gang, the way that he proved himself and that you did in that gang was to go out and shoot somebody. Like, it's an initiation rite, like the young men of Africa used to go and shoot a lion. But here we have these people initiating themselves in the gangs on the streets because nobody is tending them, really. That's a whole other story about initiation in our culture. And he shot this kid that he didn't know. And how he was apprehended, brought into court, trial, and at the end of the trial, convicted. And the judge says that the jury comes back, you are convicted of this murder, of this innocent young man that you shot. And just before he's taken away in handcuffs, the mother of the boy who was shot stands up, looks him in the eye and says, I'm going to kill you, and sits down. And then he's hauled off. So after being in prison for a year or so, that mother goes to visit him, and he's kind of frightened. And she said, I just got to talk to you. And so they have a little bit of conversation, and she leaves him something. Say, you got any money for anything, cigarettes, whatever. She leaves him a little money. And she starts to visit him and try and understand this guy who shot her son. And she goes every few months, and then over the course of 3-4 years, she starts visiting him more regularly, talking to him. And when he's about to get out at age 17 or 18, she says, yeah, what are you going to do? He said, I got no idea. I got no family and nothing, don't know. She said, well, I got a friend who's got a little factory. Maybe I can help you get a job. So she arranges that with the parole officer. Says, where are you going to stay? He said, I don't know where I'm going to go. She said, well, I got a spare room. You can stay with me. So he comes, stays in the spare room, takes this job. And after about 6 months, she says, I really need to talk to you. Come on in the living room, and sits down. Sit down, let's talk. And she looks at him and says, remember that day in the court when you were convicted of murdering my son for no reason at all, to get into your gang? And I stood up and I said, I'm going to kill you. He said, yes, ma'am, I'll never forget that day. She looked back and she said, well, I have. You see, I didn't want a boy who could kill in cold blood like that to still continue to exist in this world. And so I set about visiting you and giving you presents and bringing you things and taking care of you. And now I let you come in my house, and I got you a job and a place to live, because I don't have anybody anymore. My son is gone, and he's the only person I was living with. I set about changing you, and you're not that same person anymore. But I don't have anybody, and I want to know if you'd stay here. I need a son, and I want to know if I could adopt you. And he said yes, and she did. So forgiveness isn't just for the other. It's really for the beauty of your soul. It's for your own capacity to fulfill your life. And it's a practice, or it's a training. All the modern neuroscience that Fred Luskin's doing, and Richie Davidson, the studies of fMRIs and things, a lot of it is the validation of neuroplasticity, that our nervous system is always flexible and changing even to the very end of life.